Hi everyone, Chillax here and welcome back to another Anchor Panic video. So today I want to go over my personal updated PvP rankings for global version 1.8, coinciding with the release of Crag, who is a nature support. And I'm very excited to say that Crag is showing up in Advanced Arena, notably by the rank 1 Advanced Arena player, Ivy, who is in my guild. Shout out to you. I will be showcasing her Crag team, which has been consistently beating my team, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately if you are excited for Crag, so stay tuned for that. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I want to emphasize that this is my own personal opinion, and even though I am rank 2 for normal arena as well as rank 2 for advanced arena, it doesn't mean that I know everything, and certainly my meta, my experience day to day in arena is very different from yours. So for this reason, take this with a grain of salt. Treat this as more like learning from another person's perspective, whether you are a brand new player or maybe a veteran player. I'm hopeful that you will get something from this video. So with that out of the way, let's go over one more thing, which is that I decided that for this PvP rankings that I would be grading these operators at Ascension 6 and with their signature sigil, and for the best operators in my opinion like Abyss Elysia, Rose, and Frostjade, that their sigil might be max ascended. This is especially important for Rose, otherwise her placement on this tier list is not going to make sense. I think this is a reasonable criteria to set because realistically, if you were to face any of us top 5 players in Advanced Arena, most of our operators that we're bringing are at least Ascension 3, and the key operators, especially the limited time operators, are likely Ascension 6. So for this reason, I think this is just more realistic, even though I understand that maybe a free-to-play player or a low spender might not understand. But I think that in order for you to understand this tier list, this criteria needs to be set. Also, it goes without saying that double S tier operators are going to be cream of the crop. These are the operators that are pretty much driving the meta, setting the meta, and basically warping the rest of the rankings for the remaining operators to where they are. And I will also want to mention that C tier doesn't mean that they're bad. As a matter of fact, they are still above average because there's only 25 operators on this thumbnail. There's still 26 other operators that are below C tier. So I don't want you to think that, oh, because Dawn is C tier, you might not want to build her. If you are building a mono ice team and you don't have Ukali, you might have to build her. And I did run Dawn for quite some time in Advanced Arena before I had to bring her out of my lineup in order to secure rank 2. So yeah, these are all great operators. If they're not on the thumbnail, chances are I wouldn't advise building them. Okay, so let's go over the double S tier first, and actually I want you to think more big picture, meta picture, okay? So let's go over Advanced Arena, just kind of what the meta is right now. So right now the meta tends to be mono quantum for one team, mono lightning for another team, and then an ice primary shell with maybe a splash of other operators. Now this can change. For instance, the rank 1 player, for instance, let me just as an example here, is much love to you, Ivy, for beating me up. Yeah, so the rank 1 player, being rank 2 sucks, guys. Yeah, but anyways, I digress. So if you're a rank 1 player like Ivy and you're like super creative, you might do, certain things where you might have like an alphabet soup of elements. Oh my god, Ivy is such a creative team builder. Yeah, so as you can see here, you don't have mono anything. I think Ivy is more like, okay, what do you do? What do you do? and how can I put these operators together where it assembles a game plan that is unorthodox but very effective. But I think even Ivy would agree that when it comes to team building, the number one thing you have to make sure of is that you have a speed tuner. So you'll notice that outside of her throwaway team, actually even her throwaway team has a speed tuner in the form of Lang Zhao, because Lang Zhao, when you have the ice homology enacted, when she casts her skill and applies a freezing stack to all enemies, that freezing stack will lower the enemy's speed by 5% per freezing stack. And then you have a speed tuner Turn, who, she's the fastest speed tuner in the game. And then you have Echo, who is a very fast speed tuner who offers other utility. Definitely in a game like this where defenders don't exactly defend, and where this is basically a turn-based game, speed tuners are king. If you're not running a speed tuner, it's very unlikely that that team will win. And to illustrate that point as an example, Mikoto's decided, and this is a good strategy too, not a dock against Mikoto's, place the speed tuners in the other two teams and have one team without a single speed tuner. And the match is just noticeably different. The opponent actually barely gets to move if they don't have a speed tuner. And considering that how offensive the double S DPSs are, you can have a scenario where if you are not running a speed tuner, or if you didn't empower the signature sigil of your speed tuner fast enough, like let's say you're on like a level 6 out of 10 speed on your sigil instead of like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, and you just get completely outsped, then you might end up with only 2 operators alive by the time it's your turn. It can be that bad, so especially in the upper echelons. So for this reason, even though Turn, Echo, and Lang Zhao are in the double S tier, I would even go as far to say that they are in their own class up in the heavens, because if you are missing either of these operators, this puts you at a huge disadvantage in Advanced Arena. And to some extent, Lang Zhao, now that Frost Jade is out, Lang Zhao, even though she's 1 speed point slower than Echo, but she can also be a very effective speed tuner if you have her with another ice operator teammate. Yeah, so those 3 very strong operators in terms of just controlling the game. And then you also have operators who who basically prolong the lifetime of your operators over the course of the match, and this is thanks to Frost Jade, who thanks to her Ascension 3 as well as her talent, like one of her skills, is able to allow one of your allies to basically enter a frozen state when they are about to be KO'd and revive on the following turn. And if you have her Ascension 3 or higher, then she can revive 2 operators. And she's the only reviving operator who can allow the same operator to revive multiple times. For instance, if you have a control comp running Frost Jade, you're freezing the enemy with Lang Zhao for days, and the battle draws out to, say, like rounds 5 or 6. If an ally had been KO'd and entered a frozen state, they can re-enter the frozen state and revive yet again after 3 additional rounds have transpired. So Frost Jade is just like a cheat code who's basically the most effective healer in the game, who also has just a potentially infinite number of revives. And, it makes sense, she's a limited operator. So, yeah, Frost Jade is also up there in the stratosphere. As a matter of fact, with Frost Jade, you can build your team a bit greedier, because Frost Jade can turn any 2 operators into an immortal defender until the following turn if you have her Ascension 3 or higher. As a matter of fact, Frostjade is probably a better defender, if you will, than Thunderrock and Flicker. But because of how PvP works in this game, where defenders don't defend and you need to protect multiple positions, so it goes without saying that you will need to run defenders like Thunderrock and Flicker. Now Thunderrock is interesting to note because she has certain synergy with Rose or any follow-up attacker. Well, actually, it's just mainly Rose, because when you have an Ascension 3 or higher Thunderrock and she parries, it does count as an action, even though the opponent is attacking you and triggering it. So it allows you to fire back with, say, like a Rose follow-up attack on defense. And in a very oppressive environment, where your opponents have like max 10 out of 10 speed on their signature sigil, being able to have any sort of chance to get an attack in is quite important. And so for this reason, Thunderrock is pretty notable, and she ends up parrying quite a bit and is very difficult to defeat. And with her being very difficult to defeat, it buys you plenty of time for your Abyssalicia to revive and basically haunt the enemies. Yeah. And then Flicker is very good, even though she's starting to fall off a little bit, thanks to how powerful some of these other operators are, notably Frostjade with her double revivals, and Abyssalicia, who is like an immortal tank who happens to be the best DPS in the game. Flicker's ability to cheat death, as well as provide AoE shields every turn, and these shields stack. So Flicker still has a place in the meta, even on the CN server, where it's basically dominated now by like Frostjades, Plenilunes, and the limited Quantum Breaker, Zephyrin. Yeah, Flicker still has a place in that sort of team. So Flicker's not going anywhere. And then when it comes to DPS output, there's two operators that are in the heavens compared to the rest of the operators on this thumbnail. One of them is Abyssalicia, who is not only the best DPS in the game, but also the best tank in this game. Well, I guess technically the best tank in this game is Frostjade if you have her Ascension 3 or higher, but Abyssalicia is as good as it gets. I mean, like, she can revive multiple times, she gets 30% damage reduction from one of her talents, she hits like a truck, she can energy burst on turn 1, and by the way, this energy burst can hit all enemies, Yeah, Abyssalicia has everything going for it, definitely worthy of limited status. And Rose, if you have her Ascension 6 with a max ascended sigil, which pretty much everyone in the top 5 has, if you're a whale, you probably did it for Rose, then yeah, Rose is just unstoppable. Like, it's just so oppressive. It's like every time your operator moves, then Rose obliterates the enemy. So it's like typically how it plays out is your turn moves, and then Rose goes pew pew, takes out 2/3 of everyone else's HP, and then your second operator moves, like let's say Frostjade moves, pew pew, and then half the opponent's team is dead. And then if the opponent has any operators left by the time they start to move, then yeah, they've pretty much given up. So that's kind of like what Rose is capable of doing. Yeah. So yeah, everyone in the double S tier is basically in the heavens. And then when we go below the heavens back to Earth, then you have the S tier operators and below. So, when it comes to looking for other DPSs to, bring the pain, Carnissa with her Rampage is very good. Tia with her multiple follow-up attacks is very good. Ukali with all her follow-up attacks and partnered up with Frostjade, who can buff her attack and her crit damage and shield her, is very good. And then, complementing Abyssalicia Ling can do a decent amount of damage. Ling also has good synergy with Karnissa, really hyper-focusing on the back lane. And then if you want a good DPS partner to Tia, Newcastle is very good. That's my preference. I have guildmates who love Ifrit and run Ifrit in Advanced Arena. She's very good because Ifrit is able to buff the crit damage as well as energy burst of allies, especially if you have her ascended with her signature sigil. Newcastle I love because with her second passive, she already grants surrounding allies 18% additional crit damage boost, while also being a very hard-hitting DPS herself. And when it comes to being able to hold down the fort against hyper offensive opponents, Crag is actually pretty decent at Ascension 3 or higher, thanks to her ability to provide 10% defense buff to your allies, as well as energy bursting on turn 1 if you have her Ascension 3 or 6, and then doing counterattacks. Now, her counterattacks are not super great. My A4 Crag with her signature sigil and full offensive empowers does about 20k damage per follow-up attack when she crits. That's not a lot. To put it into perspective, my Ukali's follow-up attacks do maybe like maybe about the same. Yeah, but the important thing about Crag is that it allows you to basically fire back with Rose's follow-up attacks while on defense. So that's very useful. Crag is kind of becoming the Thunderrock 2.0, but to some extent more splashable, and Crag can also be healed, which, Thunderrock cannot be healed. And then Lilira and Strain, they're both very good. I rated them about the same because Lilira, the reason you bring her is because she can AoE shield allies with her skill, AoE heal with her burst, and also provide a one-time revival for another ally. And that makes her very versatile as a healer, shores up a lot of weaknesses, and effectively turns one of your other operators as a tank, if you will, because they can cheat death once. Yes. The only thing is that Lilira's revival is different from Frost Jade's in that the opposing Karnissa can still go on a rampage if they pick up the KO. So that's kind of a downside of Lilira. And if Lilira herself gets KO'd, she doesn't revive. So that's kind of a knock against her. Frost Jade can also revive herself and turn herself into an immortal tank by going into the ice state if she gets KO'd. And Strain, I have to have Strain up here because she has very bursty heals via both her single target skill heal as well as her energy burst heal, and she also provides offensive buffs to your allies via her adrenaline stacks, and she partners up very well with Flicker, who provides an AoE shield every turn. So I have her about the same ranking as Lilira. Antelope is very good because, especially if you have her Ascension 6, it guarantees an AoE shield at the start of battle. But Flicker is arguably better, but sometimes I do run Flicker and Antelope together, or maybe run Antelope in another team as like a splashable defender. Any team that I feel needs one more defender. And then the rest of these operators in A tier or below, I have seen them in PvP, notably Quasar and Centauria. But everyone in the A tier are decent DPSs or breakers or defenders if you are missing anyone in the S tier or double S tier. And then B tier, the rank 1 player at one point was running Olivia, but decided to take her out of the lineup once she found a more optimal team. But Olivia's kind of interesting because she when she plants her flag at the start of battle, it actually procs Rose's follow-up attacks, which is really funny. So it's a way to cheese Rose's follow-up attacks and enhance the normal attack, and I think it's the skill attack, or maybe it's the follow-up attack of your allies. Olivia's like a striker who can boost the damage output of your allies. So that I thought was an interesting synergy there. Yeah, Dayling used to be in top 5, or I think I saw Dayling once, and then yeah, no more in the top ranks. And then I was the one person who was using Dawn at one point until I realized that I was consistently losing on my mono ice team with her, so I ended up taking her out for another, I think I swapped her out for Antelope and had more success. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the rankings. I hope you found this informative. If you haven't already, please don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.